They call Gen Z lazy, but the world they were told to prepare for doesn't even exist anymore. Study hard, get hired, stay loyal, climb steadily, retire eventually. That was the promise. But by the time Gen Z entered the workforce, offices went remote, industries automated, AI accelerated, and entire career paths started dissolving in real time. And then they were told they just didn't want to work. Gen Z, born roughly between 1997 and 2012, didn't transition into the internet. They were shaped by it. Information was never scarce. Authority was never automatic. Algorithms fed them constant comparison, constant feedback, constant iteration. Their nervous systems adapted to speed and choice. The modern workplace did not. In 2020, a 22-year-old graduate sits in a childhood bedroom, diploma earned through Zoom classes, watching job offers disappear during a global shutdown. Stability, once marketed as guaranteed, vanished in a week. Loyalty to companies that could lay off thousands overnight suddenly felt irrational. That wasn't entitlement forming. It was pattern recognition. Gen Z doesn't reject work. They reject work that feels disconnected from meaning or leverage. When older generations tolerated hierarchy without transparency, it was often because alternatives were limited. Gen Z grew up with options visible at all times: side hustles, remote contracts, creator economies, digital portfolios. Independence wasn't rebellion, it was accessible. Psychologists call this environmental conditioning. When autonomy is rewarded repeatedly, dependence feels inefficient. When information is instantly available, blind obedience feels unnecessary. Their skepticism isn't laziness, it's adaptation to transparency. You can see the friction in small moments. A Gen Z employee finishes a task in 20 minutes using automation tools. Instead of praise, they're told to slow down or look busy. In older systems, time equals effort. In digital systems, output equals value. That mismatch feels absurd to someone raised optimizing everything from school projects to social feeds. Critics say they're distracted, but distraction implies passivity. Gen Z grew up in a high-stimulus environment, multiple tabs open, rapid content cycles, constant novelty. Their brains are trained for pattern scanning and quick filtering. Slow bureaucratic systems don't feel disciplined, they feel inefficient. Again, mismatch. The old world was built on endurance, long hours, delayed recognition, hierarchical approval. The emerging world runs on adaptability, speed, skill stacking, tool integration. Gen Z aligns naturally with the second model. Nowhere is this clearer than with artificial intelligence. When AI tools began entering workplaces, many older professionals saw them as threats. Years of identity were tied to manual process and specialized expertise. Replacement felt personal. But for Gen Z, identity was never fully tied to process. It was tied to outcome. If a tool completes 3 tasks faster, that isn't cheating, it's optimization. Ego attaches to process. Adaptation attaches to outcome, but this isn't a heroic narrative. There are trade-offs. Constant exposure to digital comparison increases anxiety. Flexibility can morph into instability. Rejecting rigid hierarchy can make mentorship harder to accept. Independence reduces vulnerability, but it can also reduce patience. This is the real paradox. Gen Z demands flexibility, yet faces economic volatility. They challenge authority, yet still need guidance. They integrate technology fluidly, yet struggle with sustained focus inside rigid systems designed decades ago. They are not flawless, but laziness is the wrong diagnosis. Laziness implies apathy. What we're seeing is selective engagement. Energy flows toward environments that offer autonomy, transparency, and growth. It withdraws from systems built on unquestioned obedience. Every generation adapts to its environment. The industrial age rewarded compliance and endurance. The digital age rewards speed, leverage, and adaptability. Gen Z didn't create that shift. They simply arrived calibrated for it. So the real question isn't whether they'll adjust to the old system. It's whether the old system will adjust to them. Because when a generation optimizes for the future and institutions cling to the past, friction is inevitable. Call it attitude if you want, or call it adaptation. If this perspective challenged what you assumed about generational behavior, subscribe. There's more beneath the surface of modern psychology than most headlines reveal.